When a threat is too great for one hero, an entire team is called on to deal with it. As the threats grow, so does the Alliance, adding new members to their ranks. But if a danger looms so great that one expansive team is insufficient, it may well require two. Provided they don't start punching each other first.
Hello, I'm the Angry Spork, and we close out Year of the Crossover with what may be the biggest collision of heroes to date, as I'm taking issue with JLA Avengers. Scribed by Kurt Busiek, with art by George Perez and Tom Smith, will this story be one for the ages, or end up as just another sales gimmick? Let's kick this off with issue number 1 and see if this comic makes us want to turn the page or turn our heads.
The cover for each issue is a wraparound, fitting for such a titanic meetup of characters. Here on the front, we see each team's big three and one of their size changers. As we move along, we see even more of each group, all looking in the same direction with varying expressions of concern. Well, except for Plastic Man, he's reacting to the background featuring Starro and the armored Terminus.
They were all sharing derogatory impressions of Starro, and boy, are they going to be embarrassed when they turn around.
The story begins on the planet Polemicus, where an atmosphere of revelry is attributed to a man named Archon ascending to the Imperial throne. He's getting geared up to go hunting when he's alerted by his vizier of a disturbance from the skies. An amorphous black entity with glowing red eyes bellows a command, wanting to know some manner of secret, but receives no answer. So it extends its tendril-like extremities and eventually destroys the planet. Polemicus dies, and a universe dies with it.
Because they didn't answer a question? Jeez, game shows these days are really trying to get those ratings.
In another universe, on a different vibratory plane of existence, the Weaponers of Quard are fighting the Crime Syndicate of America, the evil versions of the JLA, who happened to find the planet because one of them was bored and decided to wreck their stuff for fun. As their speedster suggests leaving just enough behind so the Quardians can rebuild, and they can destroy it again, the entity appears before them, repeating its question about the secret truth. Superwoman replies only with a threat, and yet another universe bites the dust.
You think when that reality's Warner Brothers Studios decided to make an Ultraman film, they completely diverged from him and made it all bright and hopeful and positive?
We get a splash page of a humanoid being seemingly comprised of the cosmos itself. This is Eternity, a manifestation of the Marvel Universe, and it holds another galaxy in its hand. And even though I'm not familiar with Eternity, I think the white backdrop here helps emphasize that this being is far more complex than what a standard comic may offer. Anyway, we zoom in on this galaxy until we come upon Endwygast, the Grand Master, who's waiting on the outcome of his latest wager when the dark entity again demands answers to his questions. Narration notes the words aren't words, but a kind of energy probe spreading throughout the universe. Though initially struck by the commanding voice, Grandmaster realizes the probe is damaging the fabric of creation, so calls the entity out to ask what it wants. Perhaps perplexed by this recalcitrance, the probe recedes and the entity takes on a more humanoid form. I seek the ultimate truth. I am Krona, and I will not be denied.
And you look nothing like Jeff Goldblum!
A month goes by, and the JLA are in a fight against Terminus, the giant armored villain we saw on the cover. And if he can knock aside Superman that easily, he probably isn't a pushover. Some Leaguers are trying to restrain the threat, while others help evacuate pedestrians. We're barely even slowing it down. We'll lose the shopping center in minutes.
Won't someone please think of the capitalism?
The creature appeared without warning, near Fallville, Iowa. It paused, seemed to scent the air, and began marching directly towards Metropolis, destroying everything in its path. Sheesh, even villains from different realities know which DC city they really want to target. Batman is busy analyzing the creature as it targets local police with its staff. After Superman takes the resultant energy blast, Bats determines the weapon is the source of its power, which feels like a bit of a stretch. It's not exactly explained how he determines that. He calls for a telepathic link-up of the League so he can coordinate their attacks. Blinded by Plastic Man, Terminus opens his helmet to scoff at their attempt to take his staff, but this leaves him open to a psionic attack from Martian Manhunter. He can't really read his mind, but he can do some damage. When the foe charges his weapon in retaliation, Green Lantern uses a construct to redirect the energy back at him.
Well, looks like someone brushed up on their Looney Tunes strategy before this fight. Sure, it's a bit flashier and more complicated than what we've seen Bugs Bunny do, but the principle is basically the same.
The League need not be concerned with the hows and whys of Terminus's presence, as the Spectre, which at this time was Hal Jordan, says the villain is from another plane of existence, and personally handles disposing of it. Not sure if he's just taking it back to the Marvel Universe or outright terminating Terminus. Anyway, everyone is apparently so in awe of the sight, their old comrade being God's hand of vengeance and all, that Wonder Woman needs to remind them there's still people that need rescuing. Meanwhile, in the old 616, Starro is dropping its assimilating offspring upon New York, barely fended off by the Avengers. At least the ones not being controlled. Attacking the source creature isn't having much effect, and things don't exactly become much better when Thor gets assimilated. With a little teamwork, they manage to free Quicksilver, who says the self-styled Star Conqueror wants nothing short of total control. He's in such frightful awe of the calm, ordered hive mind he was just a part of, he doesn't see a way of stopping it. Vision, however, has an idea.
Scare it away using tartar sauce. What? They already used one cartoon trope against one villain. This could easily work. You don't know. You're not science.
Since the creature seems to work on some kind of order, he plans to apply one to Scarlet Witch's face, since she utilizes chaos magic. Though there is objection from her brother. But she's your ex-wife, Vision!
Why would you take a dangerous alien creature and stick it onto the face of your ex-wife who... And on second thought, I think I just answered my own question.
As the star creature is attached, Wanda taps into her world's chaos magic, funneling it into the hive mind and driving Starro away in fear. With the possessed people now free, though with an unpleasant taste in their mouths, Wanda notes how the creature felt out of place, and it's then that Vision gets a transmission.
If it's another telemarketer, tell them we're off planet, fighting the Skrulls and the Phoenix.
We have used that excuse before.
I don't care if we've used that excuse before!
No, it's their buddy Quasar, whom they contact at Avengers Mansion. While at a deep space monitoring station, he's noticed peculiar invasions on numerous planets, including but not limited to Lobo attacking the Shi'ar, and, well, I can't tell who these aliens with ray guns are supposed to be, but in any event, it seems all these sudden arrivals originate from the same alternate universe. While Cap and Thor carry on that conversation, and other Avengers deal with cleaning up the evil starfish, Wasp confers with Iron Man about early detection of these increased interdimensional threats. We jump to the Flash, clutching a piece of Terminus's armor, while going super speed, trying to match its vibrational frequency to reach its home reality and gather some intel. Wally's a bit nervous, since this was always more Barry shtick and the resistance is intense, and it doesn't help that he loses psychic contact with Jean. But he perseveres, and eventually arrives at a quaint river town that he takes as an alternate version of Keystone City. He begins molecular scans when he hears a cry for help. Turns out a mob of people are attacking a young mutant. He just changed today, as he pleads with people he's known for a while that he's no threat. The Scarlet Speedster stands between the mob and the kid, telling them unless he's actually committed a crime, they need to back off. Instead of listening to reason, they figure the Flash is another mutant, possibly in league with Magneto, and decide to take him out too. Letting the teenager bound away, Flash tries to hold them off, but trips. No, this isn't written by someone from the Flash TV show, because that's probably something that would happen. He's lost his connection to the Speed Force, as the irrational townsfolk close in.
I'm a little curious why they didn't think he was with the Avengers or one of the other powered but not mutant heroes of that world. Do they think Iron Man, Thor, or Captain America would have been A-okay with them lynching some poor kid? Morons!
Thanagar is fighting off Skrulls, Mongol is tangling with some brood, and the JLA is monitoring things from their watchtower and can't make heads or tails of any of it without more information. But man, is that some awesome reception from across the universe. That's when Flash calls in from Keystone, a bit battered but alive. After his powers faded, he returned to his normal vibration, then popped back to his rightful Earth, though still shaken by the sheer loathing of his attackers. Don't mess with angry Rotarians.
For those that may not know what he's talking about, Rotarians refer to members of the Rotary International, or the Rotary Club, which is a non-profit with the intention of uniting business and professional leaders to advance peace and goodwill across the world. I'm not sure if the joke has some layer I'm not getting, or maybe I just don't find it funny.
Couple of things I noticed about this page. You have two portions here, one outlined in yellow, one outlined in red, and it seems to indicate that you're supposed to read the yellow portion before the red. But because I'm used to reading comics just left to right, and that's how the dialogue and the panels tend to go, it kind of threw me for a loop there. It's not necessarily a bad choice, just one that surprised me. I thought it was a little weird. What's more weird is Plastic Man making extra heads from other portions of his body to look at the hollow screens. Is he goofing off, or can he actually see through those heads? Anyway, there's no time to elaborate on Wally's trauma, as an alarm sounds, indicating a new visitor for the League. Uatu the Watcher. Jean's mental probes only discern that the being is curious. No responses to questions in various languages. While Aquaman would be fine putting on a spacesuit and forcing a conversation, Superman's heightened senses detect another arrival, that of the Grand Master. While mentioning that the bald spaceman hardly ever interferes, he gets Batman's version of hospitality, courtesy of an energy cage from Lantern. Grandy says he's going to tell them of their impending peril, but for the third consecutive time, Jean finds himself unable to read a strange visitor's mind, so they can't confirm his claims. Good thing Diana has that magic lasso. Old Man Gast explains that the barrier between their dimensions has weakened, to Wally's shock, and left unattended, that spells doom for both. The solution is to gather 6 powerful artifacts from each universe, totaling 12, many of which the League recognizes as they're displayed by the blue newcomer.
Interdimensional scavenger hunt!
I guess the bell, wheel, and jar all count as one set. That or Grand Master stinks at math. Bats and Jean want more information, such as the cause of the crisis, who will wield these combined items of power, and how, but Gast isn't saying. He implants in their minds the location of each item for both universes, then vanishes, warning that others will be seeking the totems as well. Wonder Woman assures that he spoke the truth, though admits there was some withholding of information, which I didn't think you could do with the lasso, but I guess Gas is just that powerful. Bats doesn't much like the idea of going on a mission based on a stranger's orders, possibly, Flash notes, because someone else is making the call. Still, we are being invaded by this other world, and believe me, from what I saw, it's not a nice place.
I can make that determination because I spent 5 minutes in one small town and got beat up by a bunch of people. Now, that's the kind of logic you might find on the Flash TV show.
Since Flash can't go back to that world without losing his powers, he'll keep an eye on Uatu while Adam joins the field team. He sets up a vibrational field to transfer to the team, and once matching the Marvel vs. Frequency, the League is off. At Avengers Mansion, Tony is working on a dimensional alarm, something he'd planned to build eventually anyway, and has worked up something that can detect Starro's energy signature derived from Jack of Hearts' Scanalyzing, which may be a comic book exclusive word for that specific character, but it still sounds weird. Cap walks in, having alerted reserve and inactive Avengers, along with Hawkeye, because who knows if the other realities Robin Hood will show up. And that's when Stark's new alarm sounds, and it is certainly not a test. The JLA is going from Moon to Earth, splitting up, mind-linked, and instructed by Batman to observe unseen, not to interfere under any circumstances, something he almost annoyingly reiterates while the team watches Doctor Doom rule over Latveria, see the devastation of the annihilated Genosha because its inhabitants were mutants, or the Hulk smashing and snacking in Michigan. Meanwhile, Bats and Plastic Man are in New York, and catch the Punisher taking out some drug dealers.
And certainly the Dark Knight will be able to contain himself. I'm just kidding. He's currently in the process of kicking Frank Castle's teeth in. Did you know he teamed up with Jean-Paul Valley while your back was broken?
As the team reconnoiters on an island in the Sea of Okhotsk, Eel O'Brien wastes no time chiding Batman's 20 minutes of vigilante-beating hypocrisy. No details on if he left Punisher tied up, or he got away, or what, but as much as some leaguers like Kyle would have liked to have done something about what they saw, they're reminded there are larger concerns at work. Superman, his dialogue outlined wider and more curved than normal, decries how little it seems the world's heroes have done, given its appalling status. An outburst that leaves a few of his friends a little surprised. Supes wants them to be the ones to use the artifacts, and they can all sense the first one nearby thanks to the Grand Master. But first they have to deal with some giant monsters I don't recognize. Wonder Woman tells Bats to circumvent the beasts while the rest of the team engages. Though it turns out the Atom beat him to the object. You know, I had a thought.
I could be one of your allies in Gotham. I could even change my name to the Batum. Huh? Huh? Never speak of this again. Never speak of this again.
With the monsters defeated, Batman returns with the item, which is the ultimate nullifier inside a glowing yellow orb. But he can't figure out what it is himself, so asks John to probe it. I don't know how he's supposed to telepathically scan a mechanical device, but somehow he can, realizing it can wipe out a universe on its own, a prospect so overwhelming the dread is psychically rippling into the other Leaguers. That's when an arrow snatches the device, and Iron Man fires an energy weapon at the team. Supes looks a little concerned. Maybe he thinks the green colors equal kryptonite? But Diana manages to catch the arrow before they're zapped back to their proper Earth. And Aquaman seems to take extra offense at being kicked out of a different reality. As far as Bats is concerned, they got what they needed and there's no need for a fight. Though Superman, continuing to show contempt for that other world, thinks it may come to a bigger brawl anyway, since they have 5 more powerful items to find from that world. Back on Monster Island, the Vision exposits how Tony's cannon strengthened their target's core energy patterns to return them to where they belong. So that's what the big gun did. They just didn't expect an Amazon with such incredible reflexes. Yet possessing a device that Planet Eater Galactus is scared of means they're a threat, from the Odin Son's perspective. You know, there was something familiar about them.
You know that weird feeling where you meet people from another reality and you might have had to fight them in order to save your entire universe from being destroyed, and both universes had the form of a crystalline entity, and you might have fused with them for a while? Just me?
Vision's heightened hearing detects they're being watched by someone who breathes. They head toward the cave where the nullifier was kept, with Quicksilver rushing in and getting them all ensnared in energy fields, ones even Viz can't phase out of. It's not really a trap, more of a means for calm conversation with Metron of the DCU. He's not friends with the Justice League, only there to observe the impending conflict. Then does for the Avengers what Grandmaster did for their counterparts, show them the 12 items that need collecting, half of which they already recognize. Man, where do I get a lazy boy like that? Metron adds that the League must be opposed, lest the Marvel Universe dies. Adam, watching in shrunken state, feels this is a little fishy and moves in to get closer. Thor does a mighty man flex to break everyone free, and demands from Metron where to find the Fiends. Believing the stranger to be the type to take a vow of mystery, Iron Man figures he can rig his modulator cannon to infuse the team with the other world's energy signature. Instead, Metron gives them a device and pieces out, leaving the Avengers wary of trusting him, even though, yeah, other people are after some powerful stuff. Cap asks if Tony can scan their gifted gadget, but Stark replies it's not really a gadget. It's alive and called a mother box.
She says she loves me, but is really disappointed I never finished law school and wishes I'd call more often.
In Metropolis, a gang of masked thieves, led by someone without a mask for some reason, leave a bank and head to another, since they know Superman is out on JLA business.
Hey! When I made that citywide announcement that I'd be going to another dimension for a while, I did so with the specific assumption that no one would commit any crimes in the duration. Does the honor system mean nothing to you people?
That's when the Avengers boom tube onto the scene, and while I've never been a big follower of the team or its individual members, it's still great fun seeing these crooks aim their guns at them, having no clue what they're in for. Naturally, they're quickly incapacitated and left to the police, and the Avengers take pause to note the differences between this world and their own. From Metropolis looking part modern New York, part future city, to expecting hostility, but they're instead met with an adoring public, asking for autographs and if they're with the Justice Society of America. But Cap's having none of it, reminding them they have a job to do, and they need to move out now. Wow, who jammed that star up his stripes?
Hey, give Cyclops' dad a call. Maybe it was, the Starjammers.
They later get a taste of how heroes are treated in this world, given awards, seen on TV comforting sick kids, and, to Quicksilver's surprise in particular, a museum for a certain speedster. While Hawkeye continues to ponder his nagging sense of familiarity, Cap figures the Justice League are more about running some superhero-level protection racket, demanding adoration instead of guarding freedom. Wanda seems rattled by Steve's accusation when the little tin gods in question arrive in person, in a 2-page spread of tension, probably not helped much by Superman calling their world a shambled mess, or by Plastic Man doing actual finger guns. But hey, that is funny. Hawkeye pinpoints why these guys feel so familiar, calling them Squadron Supreme wannabes, and Supes orders their surrender before the dangerous loose cannons threatens their world's safety. This seems to convince Cap of his suspicions that they're fascist overlords, while members of both teams think their respective red and blue champions are going a little overboard. Thor, not much appreciating being treated as the bad guys after the League took Marvel's stuff, chucks his Uru hammer at Superman's face.
Now fight! Clank, clank!
The funny thing is, if this interdimensional crisis had waited like a week, Thor would have finally gotten around to reading Making Friends and Influencing People.
The issue ends with the Grand Master and Metron observing the events, which are still playing out if you look closely. It's true that Krona may not abide by the terms of Grandy's wager, but it at least stalled him from further destruction, allowing a deeper game to be played. All this witnessed by the Atom.
Which brings the first issue to an end. And it was a great start, from the character interactions to the detail of the art that simply draws you in. Sure, it was weird that Martian Manhunter can apparently telepathically probe machinery, but that's about the extent of my major complaints so far. Tune in next week to see if they keep this momentum going. I'm the Angry Spork, and man, have I got issues.